logics are divided into two different architecture, two-tiered and n-tier architecture. In the two-tiered architecture, a client, which is the tier 1, communicates directly with the server, which is the tier 2. The presentation logic is always on the client and the data management logic is always on the server. The application logic can be on the client, on the server, or split between them. This architecture is effective in small work groups, normally the groups of 50 clients or less. There are some advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is that it is easy to maintain and it runs faster. Some of the disadvantage is that one of them is performance. The performance decreases when you increase more users. And also it's cost ineffective because you have to do major modification on clients and results in upgrade and modification costs that can be a lot of money. So we can say that two-tiered client server is very similar to the client server architecture. And there is no intermediate between the client and the server. Let's talk about the n-tier architecture. An n-tier architecture attempts to balance the workload between client and server by removing application processing from both the client and server and placing it on the middle tier server. So we have the user interface, which is being run on the user computer. We have the functional module, which processes the data, and that's on the middle tier and runs on the server. And we have the database one, which store the data that is required by the middle tier. There are advantages to this type of tier is that it improves the network performance. Also, there are some drawbacks, such as consisting of more network traffic, and also testing software is very difficult. So this is an example of the n-tier architecture, which consists of a presentation layer, which is the web browser, the session tier, which is the web server, the application tier, which is the application servers, and then we have the database part, the data tier, which includes the database. And in this diagram, you can see a three-tiered architecture, which deals with our client, the server, the application server, as well as the database. So this application server acts as a middle tier that runs between the data layer as well as the client. Now let's look at wireless and mobile network. What is a wireless network? Wireless network is a network that uses wireless instead of wire technology. Mobile network, or another word we call a cellular network, is a network operating on a radio frequency consisting of radio cells. Wireless and mobile networks, they have advantages as well as disadvantages. Some of the advantages could be mobility, flexibility, ease of installation, and low cost. There are some disadvantages. Some of the drawbacks of mobile and wireless networks are limited bandwidth. Bandwidth is basically the amount of data that transferred or processed in a specific time, usually 1 second. The limited bandwidth is expected to become a bigger problem in the future. Another disadvantage is limited range. The distance a signal can travel without losing the strength is more limited in mobile and wireless networks, such as Wi-Fi network can have a range of 120 feet indoors and about 300 feet outdoors. Also, another problem could be in-building penetration problem. Wireless signals might not be able to pass through certain building materials. Also, vulnerability to frequency noise is another problem. Interference from other signal, normally noise, can cause transmission problem. Some of the transmission problem could be like thunderstorm and lightning, which creates radio waves, transforms high voltage cables, and fluorescent lights. Another disadvantage could be security. Wireless network traffic can be captured with the sniffers. We will talk more about the sniffers in the security chapter of this book. We have two different categories of wireless technology. One of them is called the wireless LAN, the other one is wireless WAN. Wireless LAN is alternative to wired LAN. It can be characterized by having one owner and covering a limited area, whereas wireless WAN covers a broader area than wireless LAN. Let's look at the coverage and the speed. As you can see in this diagram, wireless LAN covers about 100 meters, whereas wireless WAN covers much wider area, such as regional or nationwide range. The speed with the 802.11b wireless standard, data transfer rate is up to 11 megabytes per second. And for wireless LAN, it can vary between 115 kilobytes per second to 14 megabytes per second, depending on the technology. Also, in terms of data security, wireless WAN have a higher security than wireless LAN. Now let's look at mobile networks. Mobile networks have a three-part architecture. One consists of base stations. The second one is mobile telephone switching offices, which transfer calls between national or global phone networks and base stations. And the third one is subscribers, which they are the users that connect to the base station by using their mobile communication devices. To improve the efficiency and quality of digital communication, two technologies have been developed. One of them is called time division multiple access and code division multiple access. The time division multiple access divides each channel into 6 time slots. Each user is allocated 2 slots, one for transmission, the other one is for reception. This method increases the efficiency by 300% as it allows carrying 3 calls on one channel. The other one, code division multiple access, transmit multiple encoded messages over a wide frequency and then decodes them at the receiving end. Many businesses use wireless and mobile networks to improve customer service and reduce operational costs. So, for example, Apple iPhone has gone through basically different generation, from the 3rd generation to the 4th generation, and so on, and developed different various versions of iPhone. Also, it is supporting the businesses by providing a lot of different business applications for the iPhone. Some of the business applications for iPhone that the users can use is basically maybe they can incorporate that with Microsoft Exchange to check their emails, contact, and their calendar, and also maybe use the SMS messages to be able to send to multiple recipients, and also they can use the Safari browser to give access to a lot of resources as well.